generally go through this, they can expand, they can extend the lease for an extra 5.
He'll cover it. Feels like there's
Well, thanks for all the insight.
Your follow through on these, basically
Good evening and welcome to the West Jordan Planning Commission meeting for October 6, 2015. We have 6 members of the commission present tonight. Commissioner Green is absent. Jumping right into our agenda, we have one item on the consent calendar, which is the minutes from the September 15th meeting. Commissioner Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the minutes from September 15th, 2015 as contained in the staff packet.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pack, second by Commissioner Jacob. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next item on our agenda is a conditional use permit for Glassy Steelworks, 5368 West Axel Park Road in the Drinking Water Source Protection Overlay in the M1 zone. Brett Glassy is the applicant. The time is now yours. Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. But specifically, I probably shouldn't single anybody out, but thanks to Mark. Mark Forsyth has actually been very, very helpful to us as we prepared and got ready to do this. We're steel guys. We're not property guys, and we're not government guys. And so I appreciate your efforts on our behalf. Basically, we've purchased the property at 5368 along Axel Park Road. Used to be Armitage and Sons Painting. They were in business for 82 years, and they, fortunately for us, they're not in business anymore. Probably unfortunately for them. Anyway, the property is perfect for what we're doing. We're a structural and miscellaneous metals fabrication and erection company. So basically, we take the steel, we build it here, we send it off to wherever it needs to go, and we have installers that put it up. So this has been a perfect. Our company's been in business since 1997. We've grown from literally starting in the basement of my father's home to now about 48 employees total. So, and we've loved being in West Jordan. We actually moved from Leo Park Road, just up towards the top of the street there of the sheet. We've moved from Leo Park. In 2 years, we tripled our company size. So we're grateful to be there, and we love being a neighbor in West Jordan. So, as far as the findings, as far as everything goes on the report, there wasn't much that we're being asked to do. We're grateful for that, and we intend to comply with all of it. The main condition that we're being asked to take care of is to make sure that the fence, which is currently chain link, be slatted, and it's about halfway done right now. So we'll have the rest of it done here within the month. And anyway, that's us. Like I say, I'm a steel guy, not a government guy. So please, any questions for me?
We do. Commissioner Jacob.
Thank you. I do have just one question for you. One of the conditions listed is and this seems to me to be the kind of crux of the whole issue is the flammable chemicals stored on the site. One of the conditions is you can have up to 30 gallons or up to 60 if you install fire sprinklers and alarms. Is 30 gallons enough?
Actually, 30 gallons is enough. And so to answer both sides of that, we are 100% fire sprinkler as well. Okay. And so, in fact, we just got our inspection, not from the fire marshal, but from the I can't remember their name, from the company that gives us the sticker. I don't know how it works. Gotcha. Anyway, and we are 100% compliant in our sprinklers as well. 30 gallons is actually plenty for what we do, and so we don't intend to house any more than 30. We typically keep about 5 gallons of the xylene, I believe, as well. I don't do that part of it, sorry. So anyway, the xylene, we keep about 5 gallons on hand at any given time, and about 10 to 15 gallons of the primer, more just because I don't want it getting in the way than anything else, so it gets in the way of production. So,
excellent, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Any other questions? Excellent. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Turn it over to Mr. Forsyth.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. So I'm just essentially going to be filling in the gaps, at least from the planning side of things. So as you said, this area is considered the Wells Park industrial area, basically the largest manufacturing area in the city. It's also the only area of the city that is subject to the drinking water source protection overlay due to 4 artesian wells in the area. So you can kind of see from the map here, the dark blue is the closest artesian well to the subject property. It's about 2,000 feet away. And then you've got the different protection zones, with the site being in this last one, which is a 15-year recharge area. So, which essentially means that it would, if the groundwater is contaminated or if the spill happens, it would take 15 years for that contamination to reach the aquifer. According to our zoning code, it does regulate this overlay in regards to specific uses. So different uses that involve storage or utilization of chemicals are required to have a conditional use permit and go through this process in order to make sure the site is compliant with code and can mitigate some of those impacts in case a spill does occur. So just to put everything kind of in context, most of the fabrication will take place within this existing structure here. As the applicants explained, it used to be a FS Armitage, which was a paint shop, and because that use has changed to a different type of use, which is metal fabrication, they're required to go through this process, and the current code then kicks in. So, as far as the fire department's concerned, there's 2 chemicals that they'll be using. One is a primer, and the other is xylene, which is essentially used as an industrial solvent. And the fire department is essentially explained that they can have up to 30 gallons and then if their building has fire alarms or fire sprinklers and alarms, they can have up to 60 gallons. So based on some of these findings and those in the staff report, staff recommends that the Planning Commission grant approval of the conditional use permit for Glassy Steelworks located at 5368 West Axel Park Road with conditions of approval listed in the staff report.
Thank you. Questions for staff?
I have a quick question for you, Mark. The 30 gallons of storage, if they go to 60, you said it's in a 15-year, so it would take 15 years for, if it were spilled, for it to get into the aquifer?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Is there any, do they go out and inspect the property during the year, or do they go out and see if there has been a spill, or if there were a spill? Would that have to be cleaned up immediately? Or?
Right, yeah, and most of these would be taken care of through best practices, which are in the conditions of approval. So, so those would have to be followed in the event of a spill.
So if there were a spill, then it can essentially be mitigated and not be an issue anyway, probably.
Potentially, yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, Commissioner Green. Looks like you has a question as well.
First of all, I apologize for being late, but work and traffic just buried me. I noticed in the conditions of approval, it talks about the best management practices and there's a spill cleanup plan. Is there any requirement in the spill cleanup plan to notify the city that there's been a spill so that the city can stay on top of that?
There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that specifically references that, no.
That being said, whenever you're dealing with hazardous spills and so forth, there are other layers of government, the EPA and so forth, that would likely be involved for larger. They have certain parameters, which I'm not aware of. You know, over a certain amount of a certain substance, then that triggers, you know, those guys to come in and regulate the cleanup and so forth. But Mark's correct. There's nothing specifically listed in our zoning code.
Seeing no other questions, we'll open the public comment period for this item. If there's anybody who would like to provide information on this, I invite you to the microphone. If you'd give your name and contact information for the public record, and you would have 3 minutes to make your comments. Seeing no takers, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Hearing no further comment, Commissioner Jacob.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for Glassy Steel Works at 5368 West Axel Park Road to conduct their metal fabrication in the drinking water source protection overlay zone in the M1 district with conditions 1 through 6 as listed in the staff report.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobs, second by Commissioner Pack. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. The last item on our agenda is a continued item from the last meeting on September 15th, which was the Bella Estates land use map amendment. The item that we had, the information that we had requested to bring that back on was presented to us in the pre-meeting. Nate, you want to just give a quick rundown on that for us?
Sure. You'll find in your packet a couple of items. One is a memo written by Tim Hayward addressed to myself, and the other is a map that you currently see on the screen. Following the last meeting, we discussed the project, and we did some computer modeling. We've got a really excellent computer model that has the city's sewer system and models the flows and the capacities of various pipes. Under the current condition, without any new development, just under what we've got, we learned and it confirmed our suspicions that some of the downstream pipes from this development, which this development is proposing to tie into, are currently running at or near capacity. So to verify that, we went out and physically took some measurements to actually measure the depth of flow in several pipes. If you'll notice on the map, in the lower right circle, there's one section of pipe that we learned, which confirmed our suspicion that it's currently that's the section that's at capacity. And to add more would put us above capacity, and we felt that in order to accommodate additional growth and additional connections to that system, that section of pipe would need to be upsized from a 10-inch to a 12-inch pipe. That comes up to about 175 feet of pipe. The good thing that we learned is that by doing that one section of pipe, not only could this 5-acre section of property be accommodated, but also some additional property that you'll see in the blue hatching on the map could also be connected. So that actually is a good thing. It allows for some additional areas in that undeveloped site to be able to tie into it, and it actually would spread out the cost of upsizing this one section of pipe because there'd be more contributors to that. So we found that to be good news.
Excellent. Appreciate the extra effort on that one. Larry, you got anything else you want to add?
I think with this answers the question, or the planning commission's question from last meeting about the utility. And so with, this data that's been provided, staff can now recommend approval of this to the city council, or planning commission recommend approval of the city council. So.
Excellent. Commissioner Jacob.
Just a question for staff if we're there.
We are.
Excellent. You mentioned something just a second ago that just caught my ear, and that was the cost for this improvement could be dispersed from the applicant to more people or something?
Yeah.
along that line?
Let me just explain that. First of all, the cost of that and the who does it and when does it doesn't need to be addressed right now. But when we start reviewing an actual application, then we would get into that discussion. This upsizing this pipe is not a master planned improvement. It's not on our master plan. It's not a city's. It's not a need that we have. But to connect new area into this system, which was not part of the master plan, that's what causes this pipe to be upsized. Now, typically when we do something, and again, the particulars would be worked out, but just a scenario that I could see happening would be that this happens frequently when a development comes in and we identify some kind of an off-site improvement that they need to make, or some kind of a required improvement that they need to make. If it benefits other properties, then they can seek a pioneering agreement. Generally, the first in is the pioneer, and they would be responsible to bear the cost of the improvement. But in the pioneer agreement, we would identify additional benefiting properties. And then when those benefiting properties come in to develop, there's a reimbursement agreement in place where they would reimburse the pioneer.
Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Quiet group tonight. We held public hearing on this at our last meeting. We held it over only for the additional information, so we don't need to reopen the public hearing unless anybody feels the need to do so.
Okay.
Seeing none, so that brings it to us for any further discussion and a possible motion. Commissioner Skoski.
Well, hearing no discussion, I would like to make a motion to approve the zone change as it was contained in the previous staff report, to forward this to the city council.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Skoski, second by Commissioner Heiner to forward a positive approval to city council.
Positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation, thank you. Any discussion of that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That concludes our agenda for the evening. Unless there's anything else you guys would like to discuss.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
wasn't this also a change to the future land use map?
Hang on, let me find that file again.
Oh, yeah, there was I'll make the motion that we make a positive recommendation to modify the future land use map amendment as previously noted.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Thorpe and Commissioner Green. So motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Jacob. Discussion to that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Did I miss anything else? I didn't dig far enough back through last week's packet to get to that second one there. Thank you. All right. Anything further to discuss this evening?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Anybody opposed to that? We stand adjourned until
20th.
20th. Thank you. Can't count. October 20th.